back in the USA next. Tonight, how to keep your pump in fine working order and how to avoid the stresses that can damage your heart. Dr. Alice Roberts' Don't Die Young, tonight at 8.
You want to be careful of that one.
Careful.
He's troubled. Still, from what I've heard, you don't go home empty-handed.
They say she had a heart attack.
From the makers of This Life, Party Animals. New drama starts tomorrow at 9 on BBC Two.
Norah Jones performed live exclusively for BBC Radio 2 this weekend, and you can now see the show on your digital TV. Press the red button now or listen to the concert anytime at bbc.co.uk/Radio 2. Don't stress your heart, take it easy. Dr. Alice advises care and consideration for the old pump in Don't Die Young in half an hour, here on BBC 2.
The year is 1964. America is being invaded by the British. The Beatles, the Stones, and me. Along with Tim Brooke-Taylor, John Cleese, Graham Chapman and several others. We took New York by storm. Then a few of us set off to explore the rest of the continent on a nationwide tour of theatres, hotels, airports, bus stations, but not nature reserves. Imagine my frustration. So, at the end of 1965, I promised myself that one day I would do the stateside circuit again and see what I'd missed. So, here I am, 40 years later, back in the USA. Boston, Massachusetts. And we definitely did at least 2, I think possibly 3 shows around here, but they weren't in the middle of the city. They were in smaller theatres around in the suburbs. I think we did one in Cambridge and maybe Worcester, possibly Reading, and I think Weymouth, and I think there was one here in Gloucester. You see, there's no prizes for guessing why this area is called New England, and I don't mean because the weather is rather similar. Funny thought that, isn't it? Modern America would have hardly any history at all if it wasn't for we British. Think of that. No Independence Day, no July the 4th parades, no hippies with braids, no marching bands, no bagpipe bands, and certainly no precision lawn chair drill teams. What? Oh, deck chairs. Oh, only in America, eh? And of course, there would be no wildlife. Well, no inflatable wildlife, but the real thing, oh, definitely, because in July, just off the coast here, there's some of the biggest mammals on Earth. So, I've set sail with a man who's got to know the local whales rather well over the last 20 years. This is Mason Weinrich. Go on, 2 there. Whoa. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. You can't see that enough. You can't see that enough. That moment when the back arches out and you know that tail's going to go slowly under. It is so graceful. These are all humpbacks, aren't
Right.
they? Yeah.
So this is the whale named Coral.
Coral.
He's a male. Watch for the baleen. There's the
Oh,
fish
the
jumping
fish
out.
jumping, yeah.
And there's the mouth wide open.
Oh, wow.
And there are those bubbles on the outside.
Yeah.
Where if you watch just at the corner of the mouth, where the mouth is just up right there, you
Yes,
can
I
see
got it, yeah.
the water coming out. And what he's doing by doing this is he's pushing water against the pleats on his lower jaw.
So it's like a great big sieve,
Exactly.
I suppose. Yes.
Humpbacks have a disadvantage. They're not very fast, but their prey, sand lance or sand eels,
That's
are
it.
very quick. And so to trap them, they will dive under their prey and they will manipulate them by blowing bubbles.
That's hard for me to imagine. So they're blowing bubbles. Here's your sand eels all swimming around.
Right.
The bubbles are coming what? They're not encasing the sand
Well,
eels?
they're
or
actually,
what?
they dive below their sand land.
Yeah.
These bubbles that sort of come up around the sand land
Yeah.
and do three things. The fish can't cross the column of air there, so
Right.
it traps them there.
Right.
It pushes the weak swimming sand lands
So they're
up to
going
the
up?
surface, so the whale can time the opening of its mouth just
Right.
and it scares the fish school to clump them together.
So they go together.
So the whale gets the prey compressed, and trapped.
You're not going to eat it now.
No, not. Oh, Bill, look, here comes the start of a bubble net right here. See, it's curling
Yeah,
around.
maybe.
The bubbles are trapping probably the fish inside the center. And here they come up.
Yep, yep,
okay,
yep, yep,
coming
yep.
up, both mouths open.
I don't
Nice
need-
looking humpback feeding.
Oh boy, I don't even need binoculars. That is, I think the word has to be awesome.
Well, one of the
Awesome.
great things about being a whale is all you have to do to be impressive is just open your mouth.
Yeah, I've been working at that, but it's never happened. It's never happened. It suddenly struck me 1964, 65, whenever it was, I was doing theatre here. I didn't even know these things were here.
Nobody did back then. In fact,
No?
whale watching didn't exist back then. Whale watching started in New England in 1976 out of Cape Cod.
That is amazing.
Well, can you imagine having the largest animals ever to live right off the coast and not even knowing that they're here?
Absolutely. Well, I didn't miss it because I didn't know it was there. But I do now.
And aren't you glad you got a chance to see it?
I should say so.
There you go.
I should say so. Humpback whales. Not exactly a familiar sight in old England. But meanwhile, back on the mainland, I am hearing very familiar noises, and I don't mean the marching bands that are still going past. No, I can hear birds. And how about that? A sound to remind me of home. A cheerful chirruping of your good old Cockney sparrow. Except I'm just outside Boston. I haven't seen a colony in Britain for years. But these nests along a rolled up blind, there's about 5 or 6 nests, classic old scruffy sparrow nests. Bit of tinsel and colour in that one. So how did they get here? Fly across the Atlantic? Nope. In fact, there was a geezer down in New York who decided he wanted to introduce every single bird that was mentioned in Shakespeare into America. And in fact, he let them go in New York, in Central Park. But personally, I think some of these also came over on the boats, hitched a lift. And there you go. New England? I should think so. At least no one round here seems to mind the cheery little house sparrows, nor do they have any objections about the very British mute swans, because after all, they belong to the Queen, you know. But unfortunately, the Swan of Avon also mentioned these birds, starlings. Now, in the 60s, there were 2 or 3 of them. Now, there are over 300 million starlings in America, and they're nicking nest sites from American birds. So, next time you're whinging about horrible Yankee squirrels, just remember that round here, they hate pesky British starlings. The early British settlers didn't call this place New England just because they were homesick. In fact, it's also because the landscape looks extraordinarily similar to Old England, especially East Anglia. In fact, this area is called Essex, which is just down the road from the little towns of Yarmouth and Ipswich. And another thing, the birds feeding out on the mudflats are very much the American equivalents of waders we get in Britain. For example, we have redshank and they have yellowshank. We have little egrets, they have snowy egrets. We've got little terns and they've got least terns. And if I went out onto the mud and started digging in, for example, Norfolk, I'd expect to find cockles, wouldn't I? But here I'm going to find something rather bigger and something that the New England coast is world famous for. Look at this. Juicy clams of all different sizes. There's a meal there in my hands. And of course, clams have been staple diet around these parts for a very long time. Hundreds of years ago, when it was just the native Americans lived here, they used to bake them. You've heard this word, the clam bake. And the other way of having them was in soup, and that was, it's like a test, this isn't it, culinary test, clam chowder. So here's a bit of history. Cast your minds back. This very day, 1914, a little restaurant just over in the harbour there in Essex. People come in and say, "What are you doing with the clams today?" "Don't tell me. They're going to be baked or they're going to be in chowder. For God's sake, isn't there something else you can do with those things?" And the chef said, "Well, it's kind of against tradition, but I guess I could." And he fried them. What was the secret of his recipe? Shall we find out?
Some yellow corn flour in there. Grab a handful of the clams, put it in the evaporated milk, get some of the evaporated milk off. Put it in the yellow corn flour, shake it up, get the excess flour off, then you put it in the hot grease, 350 degrees. You don't want to put too many in one time, they don't cook that good. You need more clams? And that's the done clam. Shake off the excess grease. We don't want to give extra grease. Clams are up.
There you go, sir.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I've got to say, I do feel a bit bad about deep frying the stars of the show, but it's for a good cause. Oh, and they are delicious. Oh, look. 3 quoits with every plateful. Right, moving on north, up the coast. Of course, back in the 1960s on that tour, we didn't have any time hanging around sampling fancy local delicacies like clams. Oh, no, clams, not for us. It was the routine life on the road. You keep travelling, nip in, grab a bit of food wherever you happen to be. Evenings, performing in the theatre, and then after that maybe a couple of hours in some dark and smoky jazz club. Ah, yes. We were all night people back then. I suppose I still am a bit of a night person, really, but there won't be any applause out here. No raucous jazz music. Just natural sounds. Yeah, but of what? Sounds like some kind of cattle out there. But it's not. It's frogs. But what kind of frogs? Well, I have a little device here, an identifier of frogs. Ooh. Listen to that. Let's have a go. Well, bullfrog it is, I'm pretty darn sure. So let's see if we can actually see one. Ah! Got him. So, anything else out here? Ah, now that's what I'm really listening for. That is a mink frog. So I'm not actually prepared to wade out there frog rustling. So how can I put it? Here's one that somebody lent me earlier. Now, as you can tell by the fact that you can't see him, he's only little. But this is a mink frog, very sweet. I'll tell you why it's called a mink frog. It is reputed to smell like a mink. Now, funnily enough, I haven't smelt a mink for quite some time now, and I can't really remember what they smell like. I've been told rotting onions is similar, so have a sniff. Don't worry. Ooh, it's not unpleasant. This, by the way, is an old Maine custom. You know, the frog sniffing, those long summer nights just fly by. But there he is, a very special little critter, and all the more endearing, I think, because he's so teeny-weeny. So I'm going to pop him back in the water, and I think I shall attempt to join in the frog chorus. Come on, off you go, off you go. Right, something a little appropriate for a romantic moonlit evening. Froggy winter courting in G. All together. So, another drive, although this time it's just a short one, about 5 hours. I'm heading due north towards the Canadian border to an area which folks around here refer to as the wilderness. Now, wilderness sounds all remote and unspoiled, doesn't it? Yes, but the thing is, Americans do have a bit of a habit of treating their wilderness as a huge natural theme park. But the theme isn't nature so much as rather dangerous outdoor pursuits. They refer to it as the wilderness experience. There is wildlife here. In fact, there are beavers, and I'd like to see a beaver, but I don't know where to look. So I need a guide. I got one. His name is Chris Drew. Chris, the one thing I think everybody knows is that beavers build dams. I don't see a dam around here unless they built that bridge. They didn't, did they?
This particular beaver here is what we call a bank beaver. Doesn't utilize a dam. A beaver that lives in a beaver pond where there's a dam will have a pyramid-shaped beaver house,
right,
oftentimes out in the water.
Yes.
And that's very recognizable. But up against the bank, especially with vegetation up against it, you wouldn't notice it.
Got to see this beaver. But I don't... Behind you. Seriously.
There's your beaver, and he's hauling some brush. See how he's moving that brush?
That is amazing. That is bang on time.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. How lucky is that? No cheating, folks.
No.
This is exactly what...
No. Now, what he'll do is he'll build up a supply of brush all summer long, enough to last him all winter.
And is that food? That's food.
And that'll be a feed bed. Now, what he took with him, he's going to eat inside the house.
Right.
And he'll bring the stick out when he's done with it.
Okay.
So if he'll eat that like corn on the cob.
And let's face it, you don't see a lot of beaver, do you? Just the just the head.
Just the head. And if it wasn't for the branch, we wouldn't see that much moving.
And there he goes underneath. Yeah. I can see another one. I'm sorry, you see, because I'm looking over your shoulder, I can see a pile of twigs coming this way. That's extraordinary.
Yeah.
This is a big chunk it's got.
This is a big enough chunk that it probably will not take it inside the beaver house. It'll stockpile it with that other stuff, because I don't think it can get it through the opening.
Okay, Chris, you put yourself on the line there.
So we'll wait and see what it's going to do.
Yeah, do we know? Is he right? Does Chris know his beavers so well that he knows what's going to happen? So you reckon he's just going to put it on there?
We'll know in about 3 minutes.
I've got to say, they're so much slower than I kind of expected. You know, I sort of expected them to sort of a bit more like otters, you know, jump in the water and go.
Well, they're built like a badger or a woodchuck. They're kind of chubby little fellers.
Yeah. I identify with that.
Do you have web feet?
No, and I don't like water much, but I think I've got the figure to be a beaver. Here's the key moment. Is it going to dive? Yes, it's putting it down. It's heavy. It's going down. It can't get it down. No, go on, do it. It's done it.
It's going to get a little crowded in there.
It is, isn't it?
That brush in
well,
there.
that's right. We know for a fact now. This is wonderful because you're picking up the picture there. There's one already probably still in there, isn't there? And so let's say that's she, and he's just come back with that stuff, and he's going, oh my God, you know.
Well, she's probably preparing the salad. Be my guess.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. So she's. But we can't eat all that tonight. Of course, it's not just beavers in Baxter. There's also some beautiful birds. This is a bald eagle. And this is an American goldfinch, an American redstar. And this is some kind of fritillary, very like one of the British ones. And, ooh, now I recognise these too. If I was home in Britain, I'd say these were banded demoiselles, which is one of the prettiest of the little damselflies. Ah, that's gorgeous. That's male, inevitably slightly more handsome than the female. Female's just sort of browny wings. Let's see whether they... Yes, universal language of love. Because damselflies the world over do this. They clasp together. But it actually makes a heart shape. There's the female starting to, posh word, oviposit, which means put down eggs, basically. This lady, American variation, boldly going underwater. I'm willing to bet virtually anywhere you go in the world, you will see dragonflies and damselflies. And as it happens, dragonflies are one of the most ancient creatures on Earth. There was, however you think it came about, a design which worked. And it's kind of lasted several 100 million years. Now, that's a fact which would probably impress a lot of the visitors who come here, except they probably don't even notice these little tiny critters. Because the fact is, what they are intent on seeing is something very much bigger. Just because it's enormous, that doesn't mean it's easy to see. I've been told that if I come lurking by the lake at dawn or dusk, then I stand a chance. I've got to be quiet. I've got to wait, just as long as it takes, because you simply can't leave Baxter without seeing one of these. Whoa! Didn't expect it to be quite that close. Don't I mean? Do you know what it is yet? This is my first moose. It's only a little one. Well, for a moose. Ah, has it seen me? Heard me? Just off for a paddle anyway. Ah, I love those ears. They're sort of natural fly swats, and they're independent, look. One at a time, flap the left, flap the right. Now, this is why I was told find a shallow pond, because that's where you... Oh, sorry. I love that. That's like a dog shaking off the water, isn't it? Because I was going to say, this is where they find food, and another flap. And all they eat are these aquatic plants, which is always weird to me that great big animals like these or an elephant can be totally vegetarian. Still scanning around the edges in case another one comes down, because let's face it, if it's good for one moose, it's going to be good for more, isn't it? If you get 2 moose, does that make them mice? Oh, there we go, there we go, there we go. That's not the same one. Doesn't even know I'm here. Hey, wait to the moment they take their heads out of the water. I love this, watch. Oh, cascade, eh? By the way, it's a young male, because you can just see little stumps on the top. It doesn't like, it's not fully grown, obviously, it doesn't have whacking great antlers. I'm sort of lurking in these woods, which is so quiet, so green. An absolutely placid pond. Evening sun, just reflecting a little bit in the water. And then the animal itself, there's a golden glow around it. And you've got this lovely sort of spotlight almost on the water. I mean, yeah, they've got a kind of, I guess it's a comic image, isn't it? You know, we're used to seeing moose heads on a walk suddenly bursting into talking. But when you see it in its real setting, what's the word? I don't know, peaceful. It is weird, you know, you think, yeah, okay, they're related to elk or deer or some sort, but it's sort of like nothing else, because its head's more like a horse, big sticky out ears, like kangaroos, aren't they? Oh my goodness. Did I know they could swim? It's fantastic. I don't know. I've sat in a vehicle looking at lions, cheetahs, that kind of stuff in Africa, but just to be able to stand here when you're about 50, 60 yards away, this is incredibly magical. Fitting finale to New England, and actually, just a final thought. If we're going to have an exchange, let's get the creatures we want. We've got grey squirrels, we've got Canada geese, so why not moose? Introduce moose. Look fantastic on Hampstead Heath. Or Loch Ness. See the monster and the moose in the same day.
Oddie is back with us in a mere half hour, crossing the Great Plains of the Midwest. Coming next, Check Your Heartbeat with Dr. Alice Roberts.
This is a